Hi guys, my name is Rebecca Devitt and I'm the author of Why on Earth Homeschool, the case for Christian homeschooling, and today we're going to be talking about different approaches to homeschooling. When you're considering homeschooling, it doesn't just happen. You need to make a plan, and part of making a plan is choosing an approach which is suitable for you and your children. There's quite a few methods of homeschooling, and so when you're going to choose your method, you need to consider your personality and also your child's personality. If you're the sort of person who likes a lot of order in your life, or your child is perhaps that way, then choosing a more structured curriculum might be a good way to do it. But perhaps if you have a child who likes to freestyle some more, choosing a method which is going to align with his learning values, I guess, might be more appropriate and might encourage him to learn more. For this reason, I love homeschooling because it allows you to do a lot of interest-based learning, which means you're suiting your child's personality to the educational method you're using, instead of chucking a child in school where he has to sit there for a certain number of hours, even if he's not suited to that. I think some kids go fantastically if you do that, and other kids, it just doesn't work and they don't learn well. Today we're going to be looking at 6 methods of homeschooling, and these methods aren't the complete list, but do encapsulate perhaps the range from a more liberal, kind of freer way of doing it to a more structured way of choosing your homeschooling. The first method is called traditional homeschooling. So this is essentially homeschooling which would mimic a classroom setting. So you would have a chair and a table, and your child would sit down for a certain number of hours each day and they would do their homework. With the traditional method, you'll be setting up your school like a public school, where the child will sit down in a chair and he'll learn the things you put in front of him. With the classical approach, you'll be looking into grammar, rhetoric, and logic, and it's based on Dorothy Sayers' Christian article, The Lost Tools of Learning. The Charlotte Mason method is perhaps a little bit slightly more down the more liberal end, or perhaps in the middle, perhaps. The Charlotte Mason method was developed by a British educator called Charlotte Mason, and she had a 3-pronged approach which involved looking at a child's atmosphere, so they're comfortable where they're learning. In the homeschooling environment, this would obviously be home. It also looked at good discipline, so making habits which are going to lead to a good outcome. And also the last one was just life, so teaching living thoughts and ideas. Montessori homeschooling is again more down the liberal side of doing things. I think when I say that, I'm comparing it to school, where it's very traditional and you sit down in a chair and you learn things. So the Montessori method was developed by Maria Montessori, and she thought that learning is a natural, self-directed process. So the child's learning to do things alone on his own, and that really assists learning. The Montessori method is a method used in a lot of preschools, and it was developed by Maria Montessori, and she thought that a much more hands-on approach is more appropriate. So the child learns through a natural, self-directed process. The eclectic method of homeschooling is just taking bits and pieces from different approaches and putting them together to make your approach to homeschooling complete. A lot of homeschoolers really like the eclectic approach because they can sit their child down with a traditional or a classical curriculum in the morning, and then in the afternoon they can let their child do a more self-directed learning, which will perhaps reinforce the learning they've done in the morning, or it could be something completely different. So in my homeschool, my parents would often sit us down, so we would be doing our work in the morning, either with things they had thought out themselves or a curriculum that we had bought. And then after we had finished that, whether that was 1, 2, 3 hours, then we'd be allowed to do what we wanted after we'd done our chores. Unschooling is gaining a lot of popularity these days. It's child-led learning, and a lot of parents like to do the eclectic approach using a classical or traditional method in the morning and then moving on to unschooling in the afternoon, where the child can direct his own learning. A lot of parents might use the eclectic approach and let their child do classical education in the morning and then do some unschooling in the afternoon, where the child can learn whatever he wants in the way he wants to do it. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you like the video, or head over to my website if you'd like to know some more about homeschooling, or even grab a copy of my book.